Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the Lamborghini Centenario for the second time in Asphalt 8 multiplayer. This time I have upgraded a bit further to a rank of 1699. My tuning is 5504, and in Pro Kits, 5050. Unfortunately, I was not able to find a good 1679 tune, but I did know that my 1697 X2 did fine with matchmaking at 100% risk, so I figured it would be fine upgrading this car to 1699. With 100% risk, as I am running in all these races, you get quite good matchmaking. By the way, these 7 races in this video were sequential, no races taken out. So in this race, we are facing a McLaren X2. Now that car does not go as fast as this one. At this rank, the Centenario can go 311 miles per hour. The X2 at that rank is probably 10 miles per hour slower, which is why he is slowly falling behind. And he wrecked on the ship. He probably tried to barrel roll off the left side, which is something I do not really recommend doing in multiplayer unless you get really good at it, as with anything risky. A week ago, I tested this car at rank 1609. I would definitely recommend checking that out if you haven't seen it yet, because there are some quite good races, and I go over the Centenario R&D, kind of my thoughts about it, in pretty good detail. I will talk about that some in this video as well, but probably not go into it quite as much. So even after bumping the wall pretty hard at the end of the race, we come in first, going up 13, and beating that McLaren X2 by a pretty large margin. 7 seconds, I believe. Now, in this race, we're facing an M2 Special Edition and 2 MP48s, which do not seem like the best competition, but you'll see in a bit why this really does show the power of this car. If you're playing on this track and do not plan to barrel up a ramp, do not go near it, because this will happen, and there is no way to stop landing on your top like there is in Asphalt 9. In Asphalt 9, all you have to do to stop a half barrel is press brake, and your car will right itself. Here the Centenario randomly goes into the air. I think this race really has it in for me, but I knew that these cars were slower than me, the MP48 by around 40 miles per hour, and the M2 SE by about 20, so I was not too worried, especially since in my previous video, we had a one-lap race on this exact track against an R8 SE who knocked us down at the beginning, and well, you'll have to watch that video if you want to see what happens. But here, we've pulled ahead of that M2 SE as well, round the final bends, and we should be good to go to take the victory in this one. So as you can see, the Centenario is quite a powerful multiplayer car. But how does it compare to a car like the Apollo, say? Well, that is what we will find out in the next race. You see, even though this car is very good at its rank, and quite fast as well, 311 is very good for its rank, the Apollo is slightly better in most aspects. Not by much though. It has slightly better top speed by a couple miles per hour, maybe a few if it's at the exact same rank, and it also has better acceleration. So while the Centenario can beat the Apollo on pretty much all tracks at Max Pro, it is slightly worse at the same rank in multiplayer. However, it is very close, as you'll see throughout this race, that Apollo was able to get ahead in the beginning because of his superior acceleration, even with the Centenario having 5 on acceleration. That is because the Apollo probably also has some on exhaust, and he's able to reach a higher speed at a lower rank because of his better upgrade rank percentages. However, interestingly, I would still say that this car is the second best car for multiplayer at this rank, with the Apollo being ahead and the X2 being behind, which is exactly opposite of how it is at Max Pro. It really goes to show you how much upgrade rank percentages really play into a car's performance at different ranks. Now, in the current multiplayer season, if you get to Champion League, you will win the HTT Plether. So I'm going to try to get to Champion League using the Centenario only and see if I can do it. So we've come in second to the 1689 Apollo, who we actually see a few times again in this video. So stay tuned for that, because he is a very good driver and it was fun to race against him. In this race, we are facing another Apollo IE, not the same one. This one is at 1701 rank. We're also facing an M2 SE, but the Apollo is our main competitor in this race. Coming up here, this Apollo pushes me to the side. Thankfully, I don't wreck, and thankfully I don't do a half barrel there again, so we're right on his tail, and this was quite a fun race, and thankfully I didn't bump randomly up into the air again. I do not know really what happened on that other race, but there he goes up in the air above the bridge for some reason, and that's where I get ahead. I can only assume that he was running out of nitro, but I would say that even if you are running out of nitro, it's still best to go underneath and probably wag a little bit, but I would not really recommend trying to do a forced barrel under the bridge in multiplayer because that can be quite risky and more often than not will probably land you on your top, and it's not worth risking 3 seconds of time to gain 0.1 seconds of time. So we managed to somehow pull ahead of that Apollo IE, which is odd since we are slower, but we managed to come in first, and somehow the Asterion beats the M2 SE. Now our next race is on the new track Transylvania, so this should be interesting. Okay, so here we have the same Apollo IE that beat us earlier on Dubai. Let's see how we can do on this new Transylvania track. I'm not sure the name of this specific variant. I haven't gotten the variants completely straight yet, but I want to talk a little bit about this track. It seems quite a lot like an Asphalt 9 track in some ways. It has a lot of wide sweeping turns that you can wall ride around, which hasn't been something that you've really seen in Asphalt 8 so far, but you see all the time in Asphalt 9. And it seems like this guy knows the track fairly well, or is at least making some very good split-second decisions, because he's managing to stay ahead of me at every turn. Now, I haven't played on this track a whole lot. I've only really played on it in the events, because I don't have the medal events to get to it, and it's not in Mastery, so I can really only play it in multiplayer and in those few events. So yeah, I'm not exactly the best at getting around all the corners and stuff, as you can see here. Now, I have a bit of a prediction to make. I think that Transylvania may very well be the final new track that we see added to Asphalt 8. Let me explain. The time between the previous new track, Munich, and this one has been around a year, which is a lot longer than has been between adding new tracks before that I am aware of. Because between Munich and Patagonia, the track added before that was around 10 months, I think. And then there was maybe 8 months between that one and Rio, which was the previous track. These time differences are rough estimates, but it should show you that it is taking longer and longer for new tracks to come out. Now, why don't I think there will be another new one? Well, I don't really expect Asphalt 8 to last into 2020, and there is, well, less than a year until 2020 since it's already 2019. I predict that the final Asphalt 8 update will be Christmas 2019. Now, I have no inside information on this. This is pure speculation, so obviously take this with a grain of salt, but that is just what I believe is probably going to happen, because Gameloft said they would keep the game running throughout 2019, but I don't really see why they would really keep it running after that, because they're just making it harder and harder and harder to do everything. So many people are leaving and moving to Asphalt 9, and so I think what Gameloft is doing is trying to make a good amount of money out of Asphalt 8 before finally shutting it down and moving fully, pretty much, to Asphalt 9. At least that is what I believe is happening. Asphalt 8 servers may still stay up for a while, but I really don't see any new content much being added beyond a year. And I really don't want to see the update stop. I'm not trying to say that. Asphalt 8 is a great game, but just with the directions that they're taking the updates, I just cannot see it surviving a whole lot longer. Some people have argued that Asphalt 8 will actually outlive Asphalt 9, but honestly I don't really see that happening unless Gameloft makes some really big mistake with Asphalt 9, because even with all the outcry over the Sheeran event, I believe it's still more popular than Asphalt 8, even though some people left. Well, there's people leaving Asphalt 8 too, and I think Asphalt 9 is still generally the more popular game, and it will continue to be updated and more new stuff added that the people actually want to see, and so I really think that Asphalt 9 will outlive Asphalt 8. It might not last as long as Asphalt 8 has, because 5 to 6 years is quite a long time, but I do think it will last quite a while. So we've come in first in that race, beating a 1701 McLaren X2, as well as a 1599 Cyn R1. And we finally beat that Apollo, who we've met now for the third time. Now for the final race in the video, which is on London, against, well, an Apollo. They're very popular. This Apollo was actually in Champion League, but he was over 100 rank lower, and there was somebody in this race that was over 150 rank lower than us. This really shows the power of 100% 100% risking, because if you're not 100% risking, well, you're more likely to find stuff 100 rank above you, which is not going to happen if you're risking. So now it's time for my general review about this car. It's a very good car, quite fun to drive, feels a lot like the Apollo. If you don't have it and you have the Apollo, you kind of know how this car feels. At Max Pro, it is the second best car in the game behind the X2, but ahead of the Apollo, but a multiplayer tune, it's the second best car as well, but behind the Apollo and ahead of the X2. That basically sums up my experience with this car. I give it a thumbs up. And here, we beat this Apollo. I only wish the R&D had been more reasonable so more people could get their hands on this great car. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 8 and 9 content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!